Greetings and salutations. This is the Series 7 Guru, aka Dean Tinney, coming to you from my studio in fabulous Las Vegas. Doing a coaching call here with Ashley, and Ashley had some things on her to-do list she wanted to discuss. And she brought up this idea of muni bonds. And I thought, well, gee, Ashley, let me go live here with a recording because this is about 50% probability. People ask this all the time. Now, I'm not going to give Ashley a hard time because she's along the coaching call. So we'll talk about whatever she wants. However, I do get a little upset when there's like 8 videos on something. So if you're struggling with a particular topic, you want to binge, go to the playlist. But if you are looking for a particular thing, you can go to the channel search bar, put this in, and all the different examples of this will come up. And I'm also on Ashley's punch list for her coaching call, her Dean to-do list, so to speak. The other one she wants to go over and we're going to do next is calculating number of days of accrued interest using both the long method and the short method. So anyways, thank you, Ashley, for allowing us to share this with others. So back to the question at hand. An investor purchased a municipal bond for $1,120. So the first thing as a test taker we got to recognize is this is a muni bond purchased at a premium. I debate whether I should even show this to you because if you start trying to decrete everything you bump into, you're going to get actually more questions wrong than you get right. And so we're only going to do this for a muni bond purchased at a premium. All right, so I say, now what the IRS thinks you would like to do if you own muni bonds, the IRS thinks you have other things. That's a pretty good assumption because you don't take your last buck and buy a muni. And so they think what you'd like to do is realize this $120 loss to maturity whenever it's convenient for you. That you'd like to look at your tax return at the end of the year and say, could I use a loss? Well, let's take it now. And the IRS says, no. You're already buying a muni bond that has a higher than today's tax-free coupon. And I know that because the bond's trading at a premium. So they say, no. You got to do straight line amortization downward. Now, I call this decretion, as you can see on the top of the slide. And I get a lot of grief from people because there's no such word. I said, there is. I mean, it's not a test term, but straight line amortization upward is called accretion. And that is testable. You got to do it on zeros, for example. Straight line amortization I'm showing you here is testable, and it's called decretion. Not testable, no, it's called decretion. It's just accretion going the other direction is what I'm trying to say, right? Okay, so first thing we got to do, there's kind of intermediate steps here. This is a lot of work for one point. But, if this is the point between making your mark and not, we got to get it, right? I always joke on practical application. Our discussion today in the coaching call with Ashley has been practical application, math. And listen, I'm a person that hates math. I mean, people either love math or hate math. Statistically, those are the best test takers. People who are apathetic about math are poor test takers. What I hate about math is 2 plus 2 is always 4. I find that incredibly boring. Math people love that. I like to talk about, things like what is beauty. We have a couple pictures of beer. We get close to what it's not. That drives math people nuts. But whether you love math or hate math, you got to be able to do the math that is on the Series 7 because, it could be the difference. All right. So first step here is if I held this to maturity, I would have a $120 loss on the bond, and I'd like to take it in a big chunk. And to prevent me from doing that, the IRS says, Dean, you're going to have to do this in little bitty hits along the way. So you don't get to realize that loss whenever you want. You have to adjust your cost base. So first thing I got to do is figure out what am I going to be losing each year. So I'm losing $120 over 12 years. So the adjustment I'm going to have to make in my cost base is going to be $10 a year. So here's our 1,120. Here is par down here. And so the end of first year, it's going to be 1,010. Second year, 1,100, so on and so forth. Now, the next thing I got to be aware of as a test taker is I've held it for 6 years. And so I say, okay, well, if I held this for 6 years, that's going to be important because I need to know what my adjusted cost base is. My adjusted cost base. So if I've been writing off $10 a year for the last 6 years, I should have written off $60 so far. That's the annual, decretion, right? The adjustment. So if I've written off $10 for 6 years, my adjusted cost base is 1,060, right? And then I sell the bond for 1,030. So that's a loss of $30. Now, what they're hoping you do is that you just miss this completely and you think, oh, I got an easy one here. I bought the bond for 1,120. I sold it for 1,030. I lost $90. And that would be choice A, and that would be incorrect, right? Because you have to compare that to your adjusted cost base. We call that concept recapture. I wouldn't worry about it. But just in terms of review, I tell people this is like 50% probability. Half the time I say, hey, did you get this thing about muni bonds purchased at a premium and adjusting the cost base? And about half the time people tell me yes, and half the time they tell me no, right? So, it just depends on your draw. I'm wishing for you a good draw, but let's just go back and review. So here's the question. An investor purchased a municipal bond for 1,120 with 12 years to maturity. You recognize, it's a muni bond at a premium. So if I held it to maturity, I'd be losing $120 over the remaining life. In this case, 12 years. So first thing I do is I say, okay, well, I got to do straight line amortization downward. 120 over 12 years is 10. It says I've held it for 6. I go, okay, well, 6 times 10. That's my adjusted cost base. I sell it for 1,030. That's a $30 loss. Again, about 50-50 on that. So anyways, hope you found that helpful. Ashley and I got to move on a couple more things. She's got our to-do list. And again, if you are trying to figure out how to do this, put this into the search bar on the channel and you can find some more examples. Bye-bye.